Hi everyone, so Andy here from Summit Physio, and today we're lucky to be interviewing the one and only Joe Duckworth. So thanks Joe for joining us today. We've got quite an exciting, and there's quite a lot to talk about in this interview, so I think it's good. I think if you're a triathlete or you're looking to get into triathlon, you are doing triathlon, especially for those of you who are working up to or have already done an Ironman, and I think there's going to be a few little nuggets in this conversation. Myself and Joe have known each other quite a long time, but I think it's only fair that first and foremost we hand over to Joe to introduce himself, tell a little bit about himself, and over to you, Joe.
Hey mate, how you doing?
Very good.
Good, yeah, you're looking good, yeah. Enjoying your coffee, I see. So
Always.
I think a lot of people locally probably know me, Joe Duckworth. I'm 49. I've been doing triathlon for 10, 11 years now. Kind of become my passion. I'm a habitual racer and trainer. Obviously met you, first of all, in my first year of Ironman in 2009 with an injury, plantar fasciitis, I think it was, and just couldn't run. Came to you, got talking. I've been with you ever since. Obviously, now you look after us in a superb way, yourself, Tom, and Adam and such. But I'm actually a runner, as a background as a runner, to quite high level as a junior, so up to the age of 15, 16. Fell out of love with the sport from a few personal reasons, going on in private life. And then just went to see my friend race in 2009 at Ironman UK. Never seen Ironman before, didn't know much about triathlon. Sort of rushed back from holiday in Devon to watch it and just saw the run bit of it, which being a runner really appealed to me. So I didn't see the bike, didn't see the swim. I think if I'd have seen the whole day, I would never ever got into it because I just thought it was mad. I saw the run, thought I need to have a bit of this, and booked on Ironman UK in 2010. Couldn't swim, so I had to have swimming lessons. I'd ridden to bike to work and back to Wharton where I work, so like a 40-mile round trip, but commuting, no real structure, just bike to work and back. And then started running, and I think for me the reason I stopped running was the injuries. I used to get quite a lot of injuries because it's obviously high impact. And back in the day when I was doing running, it was just all about running. There was no real cross training. There was strength conditioning wasn't like it is now. Physio certainly weren't like they are now. And you just used to run long miles and run hard sessions and poor recovery. And of course, it catches up with you, especially as you get older. But I found with triathlon, with the swimming, a bit more flexibility involved, lots of core work, lots of strength conditioning. You can be off your feet on the bike, so there's no impact there, of course, unless you fall off. And then the running, so you can mix it up well. So I'm doing a good training volume and good quality training without massive amounts of impact. And if anything, I've reduced the amount of running I do, and a lot of strength comes from the bike and the strength condition I do with you guys. So yeah, that's it really. I've been doing it. I've done, I think, about 20 Ironman events now.
Wow.
Been to Kona twice, qualified 4 times, just couldn't afford to go. Raced for Great Britain a couple of times at the ETUs. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind journey. I've met a lot of great people. I have a lot of great friends. And I've seen some friends just excel in the sport incredibly well, and to professional level, who started the same sort of time as me, which is amazing.
And I think it's important. I think there's a few really nice points in there. I think it's also important to point out to people that aren't aware of yourself that you also do this alongside having a family, a wife, a couple of kids, and a full-time job as a firefighter.
Yeah, so yeah, you need, well, for Ironman certainly, you'd certainly need a very understanding family, and I've got 110% backing of my wife, Joanna, and my 2 children, Lucy and Anna. They've been some lovely places on the back of it, Las Vegas, Hawaii, Canada.
I think that's something to know, but for people that don't know about Kona, Kona is actually the World Championships, isn't it? Which you have to achieve a certain time to get to, and you've been there twice and qualified 4 times. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So it's basically finishing the top. There's a percentage of your age group. So if it's a big age group, like unfortunately, the 45, 49 and 40, 44 are 2 of the biggest age caps and very competitive. So you can have you might have to beat 400 people to get there and be in the top 3 in your age cap at any given race. And they offer sort of between 40 and 60 slots per Ironman event, divided to all the age categories, male and female. So you've really got to be right up there, and it's not easy to do. There's some superb athletes, I mean, incredible. And it gets better every year. The quality seems to get better every year. It's amazing, yeah. It's an amazing sport. Amazing.
So you must look back on what you've achieved, and you must be really proud of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I am, and it's hard, but it's just I think the thing is for me, you've got to love the process of training. You've got to be an habitual trainer. It's got to be, you're never going to fulfill your potential if you get up in the morning, everything's just hard work and you don't want to do it. You've got to love the process, because it is a process. There's no magic bullet to get good at it. It's just hard work, sensible recovery, good strength and conditioning, obviously guided by you guys for myself, and being sensible and realizing that you're not going to go in 1 year from being new to the sport to you know, reaching a Great Britain vest or winning race or age cats. You've just got to be sensible about it, because if you go and try and do it all in one season, there's two things going to happen. You're going to get really fed up with it really quickly. You're going to get injured and hurt yourself, and then be disappointed. So I think the beauty of it is the community, the triathlon community is so friendly and open. They offer advice. No matter what level you're at, you're always made to feel welcome. And the way smaller races are structured, you're always racing with people of your ability. So you might, if you're new to it and you're not the fastest, you'll start with people around your sort of level. So you're still in a race. It's not like the fast guys are going to disappear and you're left on your own. You're generally around people who are in the same situation as you and in the same process as you at the same time as you. So it's great. It's superb.
I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, let's make very clear, I am not a triathlete in any way. And but one of the things I have done is, like you say, you know, been inspired by watching Ironman events, and obviously been working with triathletes for the last 15 years myself. One of the big things is the closeness of the community and the way you all get on. So I think there's that huge mutual respect, especially with Ironman, isn't it? That you all understand that to get to that start line, the amount of effort and that you've all had to put in to get there. So I think that's
we all suffer together. I mean, back in 2017, I was lucky enough to win the Lakesman Triathlon up in Ironman distance in Cumbria. And because it was such a hot day, it was 30 degrees, the guy, Phil, who organised the actual event, said you can have friends giving you aid anywhere on the course, as in, you know, gels and ice and all the rest of it, which is kind of unheard of, because generally on an Ironman event, you have an aid station every 3 miles. If you're somewhere really hot like in Corn, it might be every mile, because obviously the depletion of your body and your salts and all that, you need to be cooling down, getting fluids and such. But he made a real smart move, and we kind of planned for this, the team who were around me, and we had people with ice boxes with bits of ice in and little bottles of Coke, because I tend to live on Coke once I get onto a run. And so I was running, and I couldn't drink the full bottles they were giving me, so I was kind of drinking it a little bit, then handing it to other people. So they were getting a bit of an hit off it, and you know, because they're in no man's land, they've no aid, they couldn't get hold of any. And it's lovely to see that, and they thank you for it, and people high-fiving you when you're doing well. And it's a different race scene, you know, like, for instance, well, you know, Brian, obviously, to support Brian Fogarty had last year at Ironman UK, not just off people on the side of the road who was friends like myself, but other athletes, you know, and you see it from the pros will high-five each other, because they know they're going through it together, and we accept that you're as good as what you are on the day, and if there's somebody better, then they're just better, and that's that, you know.
I have to tell the story, or I'll let you tell the story of you lending somebody a wheel.
Oh yeah. And this would have paid off really well if it weren't for this current terrible situation we found ourselves in this year. So my plan this year was to go to Ironman Cork and race Ironman Cork, which obviously got cancelled because of the COVID thing. So a couple of years ago, I was with my friend Andy Turner, and because we're firefighters, and he works for Greater Manchester, we get to park a car at the fire station right outside Lee, where Pennington Flash Swim is. So I had some athletes racing there, so I took all sorts of spares in my car, like spare tyres, spare wheels, spare wetsuits, spare goggles, just in case one of had a mishap, so we could at least sort them out before they started. Now, obviously, once you're going, you're not supposed to have any extra aid, but the lads got away, they got out the swim, and off they popped. So we're walking back to the fire station, myself and Andy, with a car, and this poor fella from Ireland, he's called Merle O'Connell. He's at the end of the road, actually, going onto the course, and he's pedalling like mad, and nothing's happening on his bike, and his free hub's gone on his back wheel. So his day was over. This poor chap's trained for 10, 12 months, whatever, come over from Ireland, and his race is over. He's just done a swim, and that's it. And he's all his family's there. He's got like 10, 12 supporters. And so we ran over to try and help see if we could look at it. It became immediately apparent that this back wheel was shot. So I said, look, I've got a wheel in my car, I'll lend it you. And he said, I just want to get round. I'm not going to win any age slot. I just want to finish this thing. I said, right, I'll help you out. So rush of blood today. I ran to my car and I gave him a wheel called a Zip 808, which is about $1,000 and a bit, maybe. And I took
For a
his
wheel?
I took his steel wheel off him, which is probably worth more than, well, I don't know. It wasn't worth very much. And we stuck this wheel and we got him away. So then I'm in town. I tell my mates about this, and they're all laughing at me, saying, "Oh, he's on his way back to Ireland now. He's gone. He's just paid for 2 Ironmans with a wheel and all this." And I'm getting a bit worried. Anyway, he come round the corner running, and he come up, give me an high five, give me an hug and that. So I can't believe it. It was brilliant. Wheel with brill. So we met him at the end, swapped wheels back, and I had a photograph and whatnot. And he lived in Cork, where the Ironman Cork is. So I got hold of him this early this year and said, "Look, I'm doing Ironman Cork, hopefully. Can you recommend me any good hotels, blah, blah, blah?" And he said, "Yeah, well, I'm away for 2 weeks. You can have my house. Come and stop at mine." It's in Yole, it's called. So I got his house for a week if I want it for free. He said, so yeah. But unfortunately, it all fell down. But my plan is to go over there next year and spend some time with Merlin.
I think that's a really nice, it just, that highlights, one, it just shows the kind of community and the feel that everyone has, that one, you're prepared to trust a man with, £1,000 wheel.
Yeah. Well, my thought was if I see him on run, he's not going to run away after a marathon on a bike and I'm on fresh legs. So he was a big fella, though. I think he might have sorted me out.
He was.
He was a big lad.
Yeah. It was, for those that know about it or didn't, it was very interesting watching Joe frantically watching out for this fella. All we had was a number that we were all looking out for to see if we could see this man, and eventually they found. And I think it's a lovely story, and it just shows what the community's about, and about yourself and what you've given to people, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to obviously do this today. I think one of the things you touched on but didn't really big it up again, because I think a bit of a modest of yourself, is that you've got your opportunity to represent GB, haven't you? Yeah,
and it's to be fair, if I'm being dead honest, I think the GB thing's great, and it's just a case you do your Ironman events. You obviously you can't do multiple qualifiers to race an Ironman. It would put you in a bad place doing 4 or 5 Ironmans a year at that pace, obviously. So what they do, you do your race, and if you're in the top, I think it's the top 20% of your age cap, you get a chance to represent Great Britain. Depending on who else put in for the actual qualifying slot. So I was lucky enough to qualify after the Lakesman in Weymouth in the ETUs. So I challenged Weymouth, and I won my age cap there. So I got a gold medal in the 40-44 cap.
Wow.
But it was kind of, because it was a UK event, I felt it was more like a home international, if that makes any sense. Because there were a lot of European countries came over to race it. So it kind of, yes, it was European medal, but it wasn't European enough for me, if you know what I mean. If that makes any sense. I wanted to go and race them in Europe and have more Europeans there to make it more of an honest race. So then I went to Challenge Almere in 2017, it was. So I gave up a corner slot that year to go and race for Great Britain. And I came second there. I got a silver medal. I got beat by a German guy, and I lost all my time on the swim. I actually ran the fastest age group marathon of the day throughout all the age caps. I ran the 3:02 marathon, but I'd lost that much time on the swim. I just couldn't get. I think he would be beat by about 3 minutes, but I couldn't have run. I couldn't have raced any harder. It was really difficult. Yeah. But I felt like I justified my medal there, because there's a lot of like Portuguese, Dutch, loads of Dutch obviously being in Holland, and it was close to Amsterdam, which was a bonus obviously after party and that. So yeah, it was fantastic. Two really good experiences, and something I'd like to do again at some point.
Well, hopefully, look, all well, when we get through this situation, I'm sure that, there's lots more exciting things for you to come. Yeah. Now, obviously, as a physio kind of interview, we have to kind of talk or lead to kind of injuries, really, because lots of people, I think, who enter triathlon, in my experience, have come from other backgrounds, especially the older athletes. I think it's now a lot of younger athletes are picking triathlon as the way to do it. And like anything, especially for Ironman, I think one of the things most people are afraid of is injuries. So do you want to give everyone just a brief kind of overview of the kind of injuries you've kind of suffered over the years?
Yeah, I've been quite lucky. I think a lot of your injuries do come through the running side of things, which is why the bike and the swim are very important. You can't be running, well, some people can, but most people can't be running 40 and 50 miles a week. I wouldn't advise anyway. But and the intensity obviously is a big deal. But my injury list is not that bad really, but I think it's mainly because obviously having you on board, you very quickly learn to get a physio on board or someone with a lot more knowledge than yourself. But my first injury with you was plantar fasciitis, which was a real pain to get rid of, as we found out. That was a weird one because I couldn't run. I could not go out for a run straight out of bed type of thing. But I actually raced that season because once I'd swam and biked and everything was warmed up, it actually eased right off and I could run, which was the weirdest thing because all my runs then were brick runs or they were off the back of something else where they'd warmed up. My main issues have been IT band syndrome, as you know, and piriformis. I think they're the two big ones: hip flexors, piriformis, IT band, and lower back can be a big one as well. Obviously, being on a time trial bike for 5 and 6 hours at a time in training and racing, and the way we've dealt with that is basically strength conditioning stuff off yourselves.
I was going to say that, what do you do? Because I mean, obviously, I think people are really interested. It's all well and done us telling them what to do, but you've been there and lived that, haven't you? That's your kind of thing.
Yeah, and so. I think the key is, I think what I've seen with athletes and friends and speak to yourselves and your staff is that we go to physios because we've got a niggle or an injury or we're stiff or whatever, we need a rub down, and then we come away with, right, we sort you out for now, but you need to keep on top of your physio now. You're stretching, your foam rolling, have a regular massage, but there's a lot of self-maintenance. You've got to look after yourself, be it through, like for instance with you guys, I've got a bike strength program, although I can't do it as much now because of the gym, and I've got a running strength program, which the running strength program has helped me unbelievably since my knee op to get strong and get back to where I need to be. But the issue is, I find when I talk to people, they say, oh, this niggle's still bugging me, it's still bugging me. And have you been to the physio? Yes. Did you get some exercise? Did you get some rehab? Yes, I did. Have you done it? No, I've not. And then and it's great for you guys, so they come back the week after and they say, it's not working. You go, well, have you done your rehab? Well, no, I've not. So
it's not good for us because it's not good for us because, one of the big things that we're very passionate about, and most physios in the world are passionate about is actually getting people better.
You always tell me you don't want to see me.
Yeah, well,
that's very nice.
That's my ultimate goal. Yeah, but at the end of the day, as a physio and as running a physio company, the last thing we want to do is if our athletes or our customers who are coming in are injured, then it pays our bills, but especially if most people are in pain and it's not a nice environment for them to be into. Yeah. So it's nice that trust me, it's a lot nicer when you come in and listen.
Do you know what I think another issue, Andy, is, and I might get shot down here online and that, but we love to swim, bike and run, because we're triathletes, and people love to swim, bike and run. They feel when they swim, bike and running, this is getting me better, this is getting me faster, this is what I need to be doing. But there's a lot of core strength and a lot of stability, especially in running stability in that. It not only gets you form-wise, I always said to my lads, if you can run a marathon, if you can run the back end of a marathon and run pretty, as in look like you're running well and you're not unhinged, you're not bent over double, your stride looks good, your posture looks good. As long as you can run a marathon pretty, you'll always do okay in a marathon, I feel. Because when you see people starting to go, the stride shortens, obviously, they tend to take up a really bad posture and that because they're generally not, the running strength's not there, the core stability's not there, the flexibility's not there and all the rest of it. But because that's kind of boring to us, and we're not on a bike doing hundreds of miles or running tons of miles or swimming endless amounts of laps in a pool, we tend to neglect it a bit. But that half an hour, a couple of times a week, or 3 times a week, or an hour 3 times a week, twice a week, is massive. And I was one of them. I was always like, I just need to swim, bike, run, I'll get quicker.
Yeah.
It's all that supporting stuff, having a good physio on board, trusting the physio, doing what you're told. Because at the end of the day, you guys are the experts on that sort of thing. You've got your degrees and all that. I haven't.
I also think that, one of the other things I would say to that is, guys like yourself who train at high intensity know their bodies really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think, and are, a lot better than we could because you train with it and, a lot of time, 30, 40 hours a week sometimes, don't you? You can be putting a lot of training in. I definitely think the issue regarding strength and conditioning and, core or whatever, kind of things, additional work. A lot of people see as well, it takes a lot of time to do this.
Mm.
So therefore, adding something else in isn't always as beneficial. And one
Yeah.
of the things that you've always, kind of accepted and taken on board is actually, you don't have to do as much of that. You can add a bit more of this in. Actually, you'll become faster and more efficient.
And that's the key, especially long course triathlon. It's about efficiency.
Yeah.
From the minute you jump in the water, wherever you're racing, it's all about patience, obviously, because you can't go hell for leather straight away because you're going to have a very short day and a very miserable marathon. But the longer you can stay efficient for in the swim and then onto the bike and then obviously end on the run, the better your day will be, the faster your time will be, the quicker you'll recover. And most importantly, the most enjoyment, you get the most enjoyment of the day that way. You've got to accept that you will suffer quite badly at some point and you will have a dark time. But if that's because, you're having a bit of a moment with nutrition or whatever, that's fixable. If it's because you've not done all the supporting work and you're just fading, and that's not so fixable. And, it's nothing worse. And again, we're going back to the community and cheering people on. For me, there's nothing worse than finishing or being on the last lap of an Ironman marathon and seeing people who are walking and knowing how long their day is going to be and thinking, flipping out, that's just such a tough place to be, And
I think the thing for me is that what is devastating for me is that people that hear people like you saying this and who've been very, very successful, and other triathletes that have talked about the same things and other Ironmen have talked the same things. Us as an organisation, many physios throughout up and down the world talk about it. People then don't take that on board, and then when they need it the most, so when they're at the peak of training, that the intensity and the volume's the highest is when they need it.
Yeah.
Because they haven't done it, that's when the niggles and injuries start to occur.
Yeah.
And for some people, that means that they don't actually get to compete anyway because they never make it to the start line.
Yeah, and it's a real school of hard knocks, isn't it? Unfortunately, it's a school of hard knocks that costs you £500 a time if you don't get to your race.
Exactly.
Or even worse, you get to your race and you really underperform or don't finish. And you could have travelled to America to do that sort of thing and done a race in Texas or Arizona or Florida or wherever. Why, for the sake of a couple hours a week, why put it at jeopardy? And you know what? I'm not going to name names, but I know a lot of top triathletes who do far more exciting things than me and beat me up on a regular basis. And I know for a fact not a single one of them don't do some sort of strength conditioning. They just don't. It's got to be in there. And I think even more so when you get older, when you get to like I'm 50 this year, for instance, and I'm losing power. Naturally, I'm losing power. So I've got to try and, I can't do endless hours on the back. I can't do endless hours on my body won't take it anymore. So I've got to find ways to keep that strength up somehow without killing myself and ending up injured and totally burned out. And that's where the strength conditioning is probably playing a bigger part for me now than it ever has.
So let's touch on the thing that we haven't really touched on is the fact that you've also made the transition into coaching, haven't you now?
Yeah. So I did.
As he just sits up and we get a bit of branding. Come on, get a bit of branding in, Joe. Get a bit of branding.
You can't tell. You got a poster back.
I've got a whole thing up across me.
It's got me nice wallpapering. So yeah, that was an interesting one. I mean, I spent. I was coached by a guy called Ian Murphy for five very happy years. I had a great time with him. Great guy. And, I started to do a bit of coaching myself, looked after myself a bit more and became a point that I could, with his guidance and that, I decided it's time to probably move on and have a go. And it wasn't really a case of starting up a business. It was just, I had friends who said, can we be coached by you? Would you be interested in helping us out in that? And I said, yes, if I can, I'd love to and learn myself. And I explained it would be a learning curve for myself as well, which they accepted. And that's how it kind of went. And I did my level 2 coaching badge with a guy called Rob Wilby, who's a top bloke, and a guy called Tony Jolly from Manchester Tri with British Triathlon. Rob has a really good podcast called The Auction Addicts, and a lot of these people who listen to the triathlon side of things, they'll listen to that. And he's a real, he's a real gem. He promotes triathlon in this country like you wouldn't believe. And I did that. I did really well in it. And then I started Limitless up, and it was just friends really at first. And we've got extra clients now, but still just a good group of friends. But rather than just coaching, it's a very much a team ethos and a family ethos. We have our own little social media platforms which only us can go on. And it's just a real happy place to be for everybody from triathlon point of view. There's a lot of knowledge on there. Obviously, they can get hold of me whenever they want for any help and advice. And if I can, I will. If I'm struggling with something, obviously I speak to the physios. We work very closely with yourselves, and if the lads are being physioed by somebody else and they get a niggle, I generally get the reports off the physios and what exercises they do and build them into their plans as well. So it's very much a collaboration, but it's been a really steep learning curve, and I didn't realise how much work was involved initially, you know, because you fully invest yourself into these people, and it's only fair that you do as a coach. You can't chuck anything at them because everybody's different, and bodies react different to different stimulus, and you can get one size fits all plans, but they very rarely work to the potential that the athlete could reach. You know, you do make mistakes, and the athlete makes mistakes, but it's very much a trust thing, similar to physio-athlete relationship.
I was going to say exactly the same, yeah.
It's just brilliant, and I love it, and I love the lads that I work with and the girls, and they're really keen to get better, and they, you know, it's just great. It's nice to give something back a little bit as well.
Well, listen, I think the whole interview, you've kind of come across very kind of humble in that, you know, with lots of things you've said. So if there are people that aren't being coached but have got, you know, what were the best tips you could say, or what's the best tips you give to your guys that, you know, maybe new to, you know, who are joined you? I know you've had a couple of new members join.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we do an interview. We sit down with every athlete and have an interview. And we send them a questionnaire, and we read the question and sit down with them. And it kind of goes around. It works out like, first of all, what your ambitions? What do you want to do? Do you want to sprint, Olympic, 7.3 full distance, you know, deckers, whatever it may be? Strengths and weaknesses, what you consider them to be, what access have you got to equipment-wise, how do you intend to train? But one of the main one is, how do we keep your work-life balance good? You know, because I've had people give me questionnaires about say I can train 27 hours a week, and I've looked and said, that's good luck with that, because that's like Jan Frodeno training, and I work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And so you've got to kind of manage people's expectations, and I think the big one is from just to tell them there's no silver bullet. You know, sometimes you get people who have done triathlon for years, and they're just looking to get that extra 5% out of themselves, to get a GB vest, or to go to corner, or to win an age, or just to better themselves. So it's a case of finding out what people want out of it, what their ambitions are, but then managing their expectations, you know, and as one of my friends says, making sure they don't get ambition and ability mixed up. Yeah. You know, you've got to make realistic goals, manage their expectations, manage goals, explain to them that there will be bumps and bangs on the way, and not everything will go great. And then it's got to be a real process. So you can get a coach, you can get the best coach in the world, but if you don't follow the plan and trust the coach, then it probably won't work. You know, you've got to trust what you're being and accept what's going to come that way, but you've also got to question it. I love it when my lads say, why am I doing this? What's the point of this? What's the point of this session? You know, and being honest, you know, we have a wonderful platform which most courses use called Training Peaks, yeah. Which tells you all about a thing called training stress score and intensity factors and variable indexes and all these fancy words. But to me, there's nothing better than feedback. If I look at some feedback and I look at how the numbers are reading out, it might look like they're okay to me. But if they come actually, you know what, I'm shot at, I need a couple of days off. You need to be honest. So you've got to be really honest with each other, you know, and accept that it's not a quick fix. It's a great thing to get a coach, and it will advance you much quicker. But you're limited by ability, time, work-life balance, and goals. So you've just got to be honest with yourself. And there's just no quick fix, Andy. You know yourself. It's day in, day out hard work and recovery.
But the reason why I asked that is because, you know, one of the things I've always got from the guys that we've obviously at Summit, we've treated your Limitless guys, and one of the from obviously spending an awful lot of time, me and you, talking about these kind of conversations that we have normally over a coffee.
Yeah, mine's gone actually.
Yeah, mine is as well, but it was just, you know. But one of the things I've always, what you do very much, and I think it's nice, is that you talk about, you know, you do have that communication. And one of the things that I've, you know, really admire about what you do with your athletes is you do encourage the strength and conditioning. You do encourage movement efficiency, and you also recover. You know, you talk about recovery and understanding your body. And sometimes there's a point of you've got to allow yourself to, you know, to recover. And that's what I think a lot of people forget is. It's all right pushing yourself hard, but actually it's in the recovery where we get our gains. It's where the physiology does its bit, doesn't it? You know, adaptations happen in the recovery, and it's like sleep, the most essential thing that our body needs for recovery. And if people aren't sleeping because they're either overtraining or things like this, then they're never going to recover, and that's only going to lead to disappointment further down the line.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes a few ways. Doesn't it? The lack of sleep obviously impinges on your next day's training. There's the injury side of things, but the real big one for me is the overtraining syndrome. You know, when I remember, and I mentioned his name before, I remember talking to a guy called Will Clark at the Outlaw Triathlon. Was watching, spectating on a friend, and he just disappeared off the scene. He was suffering with overtraining syndrome, and it took him the best part of 6 months to get anything like back. He literally had to take a break and just stop, and that's a big worry for me. You know, and I think training stress scores, all that, they tell you all this about what you're doing to your body when you're physically working out, and you get your Garmin's, your heart rate straps, and your power meter, and all these fancy gadgets, which give you all these lovely numbers, but you've got your life stressed out on top of that. Yeah. And that could be pressure from work, pressure from family, pressure from just general life stuff. And there's no score for that. You know, I don't know what pressures my athletes are under at home or at work unless they tell me.
Yeah.
You know, but if they're doing long hours, obviously, we'll adjust the plan daily if we have to do. You know, and we've done it recently. A couple of lads have had a couple of niggles. So look, let's go day by day. Say you feel on any given day, chuck a rest in when you need it. He's back when we need to. When you're feeling good, we'll go a little harder. And we've literally gone day by day, which is difficult, you know, and it takes a bit of extra work. But like I said, people come to us and we invest ourselves into them, which is probably why my racing took quite a big hit for the last couple of years, up to recently. But I bought into that. That's what I did it for. I accepted that was going to happen. You know, so I had a great year 2017, set up Limitless, and then kind of disappeared off the face of the earth a little bit racing-wise up until recently. And then obviously we've got the COVID thing.
I mean, but you say that. I mean, I was there, and I'm sure many people who do know you, who were there as well, that your face when you or athletes crossed that line at Bolton, oh my gosh, you were like a kid in a sweet shop watching every single one of them. I think they had to hold you back at some point because I think you were trying to dive over the barriers.
I'll tell you what, Andy, that was the first year of having Ironman athletes. It was so nerve-wracking. You know they've gone well. You've seen all the training, you've seen the process, you've seen how much they devoted to it, and you're like, it's worse than any race I've ever done. I've never been so nervous for anything I've ever done racing-wise than before Ironman Bolton that year, because with 5 or 6 lads there, it was the first year. They all had the kit, they looked great. We all got them all a Union Jack for the finish with Limitless on. We made a real big fuss of them, you know, and rightly so, you know, because they'd done a lot of work, bless them. But it's just like you don't want nothing to go wrong from then. Don't have any stomach issues, don't have any GI problems, don't get injured, don't have mechanical. And the things you don't even think about when you're racing yourself, because you're just totally focused on your process and getting your timings right, eating when you need to, drink when you need to, make sure you're not going over the top on the power and pace. But yeah, each one of them, it was like taking a weight off my shoulder every time one of them crossed the line. And I think the best bit was going for a beer with you at them when it all finished.
Yeah, but I was going to mention that. The thing was, Joe promised me if I then came and watched, we'd have a beer. What Joe didn't tell me, but he wasn't having a beer until all the athletes had finished. So
and
it was one of those things.
You were paying.
So yeah, that was fine. I'm waiting around for this beer for ages. And
they were the 2 best beers of the year, by the way. They were. God, it was a great day.
It was, and I think and I think everybody, and that's why we wanted to get you on this, because your passion for helping other people is fantastic. Yeah. So for me, there's going to be, like you say, a lot of athletes that are going to be disappointed because all up and down the world, who triathletes, Ironman, anyone that's kind of competing in this kind of sport. What would your best tips be then for people that, who want to make the best use of this time? They can't go and do, they can't swim or be doing the things they want to do. So what would you suggest?
I think it's a really good question, because we've only got now, we've not got a massive amount of athletes anyway, we're not a huge team, but I've only got 2 athletes who've actually got a race left this year. We've got Janine, who's doing Ironman Wales, which has got a chance. And I've got a guy called Paul, who's trying to do Copenhagen in August. So they're literally the only 2 Ironman athletes we've got left to have. Oh, and obviously Grant, we've just taken on board with Vici. But it's still up in the air. So at the moment, them 3 guys are still training for Ironman. They're still going through the process. The biggest issue we've got at the moment is the actual strict guidelines on going out on the bike and stuff. Because they want to do long miles on the bike, but they want to obviously be within the guidelines. Now, one of the guys, Paul's been quite creative with this. What he's done, if he's got, say, a 4-hour bike, for instance, he's doing like an hour and a half outside to get his fresh air, and he's jumping on his turbo trainer on Zwift, and he's finishing the session off on Zwift. So he sort of splits it into indoor-outdoor. What I would say to people who've got it cancelled, and regardless whether you've been coached or not been coached, seasoned athlete, newcomer. So my newcomers, I've said, look, stay positive. You will race an Ironman at some point, and think of how much you've learned since October, November. When you first came on board, you knew nothing about nothing. Think of knowledge you've gained now. We know your strengths and weaknesses. We know what we need to work on. We've had to dial it back a bit, obviously, because if they're not training for Ironman now, you can't keep sending people out indefinitely on big rides, big training loads. So we've dialed it back. We've given them a few weeks to reset, because it is a shock and it is upsetting. You know, the guys who've missed the Lakes, when UK got cancelled yesterday. So they've had a heck of a shock. So I said, look, take a week, reset, chill out, you know, relax a bit. Just go in and do the training you enjoy doing. If you want to go for an easy run or an easy bike, just ease off for a week or two. Just reset, get your head around it, then we'll have a chat. But to be first, when they come back, I said, right, well, I know my weakness is swimming, for instance. There's not a lot we can do about that as far as swimming goes, but there's dry land workouts you can do with stretch course, finish stretch course. We've got them doing dry land workouts, working on technique, core work, strength work they can do at home. So we've redone a lot of our core work, so they don't need any kit whatsoever, so plyometrics, things like that. Because some of the lads haven't got a turbo trainer, believe it or not, so they're having to go and have ride stuff. From a running point of view as well, early morning runs, nice and steady. The lads who've lost the races. Again, looking at social distance is difficult in that, but we just try and stay focused. Don't be too downhearted. Let's work on weaknesses. We'll be having a sit down with everybody who's lost the UK this week. I've talked to 3 or 4 of them already. We've got new plans in place, and we're just working on weaknesses, whatever they may be it a bike issue, a run issue, an efficiency issue, and just trying to keep them focused without overloading them with training and completely blowing them out. And you never know, they might get the odd 70.3 in our Olympic distance at the end of the year. Yeah. But what is going to happen, I think, is that because nobody's raced, the minute they open these races up, they're going to go like wildfire because everybody's going to want to race. So it's about staying focused, work on your weaknesses, and try not to be downhearted. And just think how much you've learned. And if you've enjoyed the process, think of the base and everything you've built this year. If you build on that through winter, how good you're going to be next year.
Well, I mean, that's the big thing that we're you know, that's and something we're massively behind in supporting is the fact of, you know, I think when you are putting hours and hours of training in, you kind of muscle efficiency, your glute medius work, you kind of hamstring strength, all those kind of things may be put on the back burner. Yeah. But actually, there's an opportunity to really upskill, and there's an opportunity to get really good at that. So when your training vamps up, you've got a more efficient movement factor.
I'll tell you what I've done, which is good. A lot of tri groups are doing it, and you've got to love triathlon again in the communities. And a lot of teams are doing it, a lot of people are doing it. Because we're been forced to train indoors, and I've never done this before, and I know some of my peers who I really respect and love as guys and athletes, they haven't done it either. We've been dragged into this centre kicking and screaming and gone on this platform, Zwift. And I found myself, to keep it interesting for myself, I found myself doing, you can race on the, like, worldwide. And as long as you're honest with your figures and everything, and you just want an honest training session out of it, every week now for the last few weeks, I've done a bike road race for like a couple of hours on there and a time trial. So because I've not raced for the best part of 2 years, that's kept me really interested. Yeah. What we've also done is we've got a group set up on there, for the athletes, and we have a group ride every Monday night. So we can talk on headphones like you, a bit like race radio. And it's only computer avatars, but we're all having a laugh and we're training together. And then last night we raced Joe Lacey and trying a 4-man team time trial. So we had 2 teams of 4 each, just went and battered the heck out of each other. Had loads of fun, you know, and we got beaten, unfortunately. So well done, Paul Prio and the lads. They were first. Our second team was second, their second team was third, and we were fourth. But we're going to revisit that next Tuesday. So it was great fun. So I think the community itself has changed massively, but social media and a lot of coaches posting things, what they're doing. Other coaches are sharing that, which is great, and taking bits off that. And again, it just shows what a great community is. But the Zwift have probably got more actual people using their platform there than ever before. And there's loads of good. There's a race on the starts probably every 15 minutes every day. Right. So at any point in the day, you can sit on your turf. I'm going to do a time trial or whatever. And I know a lot of top lads are using that just to keep the sharpness up and have a bit of fun.
And I think it is, isn't it? You know, I think we're coming to the point that, you know, it's not going to go on forever, this. And the fact that what we've got to be doing is using the time very efficiently, productivity-wise as well, haven't we? So, yeah. But look, we've been going a long time, but we have to mention something before we finish this interview, that you've decided to do what can only be described as, in my world and my terminology, a bonkers challenge.
Yeah.
For a good cause, don't get me wrong, for a really good cause. But do you want to tell everyone just at the end of this interview what on earth you're taking on?
Yeah. Thanks for this. Yeah, so I had quite a funny comment actually. One of my friends, Mark Lathwaite, shared this for me on Facebook, and he said it was only a matter of time. This is what happens when an endurance athlete runs out of crayons and colouring books. And my view of that is you can only lock an endurance athlete away for so long before something like this happens to one of them. So yeah, I mean, obviously I work on the fire service as an airport firefighter, and a lot of our work has been letting planes fly to deliver parts for the ventilators and all this, and taking key workers to different parts of the country to show people how to build the ventilators and how showing them the plans, guide them through it and all this sort of stuff. So we've been doing quite a few flights just in support of the NHS and getting ventilators and medical equipment and all this kind of thing. So we're kind of like, we're doing a little bit, but we're not like in the front line like these poor guys who are like having to work in hospitals. I can't even imagine. So I always said to my friends, my last ever Ironman is going to be a Dakar. I'm going to go and do a Dakar somewhere. And a Dakar is 10 Ironmans in 10 days. It's a full-on race. And surprisingly enough, when these Dakars go out, there's not many people do them. They don't like get thousands doing it. They get in the 10s and 20s, I think. So I thought I'm going to do an indoor one. I'm going to do it for NHS. And I'm going to, with a view to try and raise £10,000. I know it's a lofty figure, but we'll see how it goes.
So we do all we can to do it, yeah.
We opened the website yesterday. Well, they're just giving page at dinner time. It's up to £1,000 already. Perfect. That's all from friends who know me on Facebook. But we need to get the word out there and make it bigger. So basically what I'm going to do, starting the 1st of May, I've managed to get hold of a rower because obviously I've no endless pool. I can't swim. So I'm going to do an hour of rowing, which is thereabouts my Ironman swim.
Is that a hint if anyone wants to come and build an endless pool before 1st of May?
If you want to donate an endless pool to my back garden, that'd be lovely.
Right.
Yeah, that would be good. The trouble is the way I swim, I could well drown in there. And again, one of the mates said, it's a good job you're rowing instead of swimming, at least we know you're safe. So an hour row at a leisurely pace. The row is going to be really to get your body moving day after day, I think, more than anything. But the now is round about my Ironman swim, now 5, generally, now 6. And then straight onto a walk bike, and we're going to have the Zwift platform running. So every day there's going to be a ride with me. You can join in for part of the ride of the whole ride, which is a work in progress now. I'm going to ride 112 miles on hopefully a flat course. My mate's building the courses for me, so if he puts any early ones in, we're going to be falling out, Chris, done. Just so he knows. So a flat course, and then get changed onto the treadmill, and then a marathon. Again on Zwift, on a flat run, and people can join in for some or all of the run. And that's going to go on every day for 10 days, so till Sunday the 10th of May.
So just to put clarity on this, every day for 10 days, you're going to row 2.5 miles.
No, because the row will be an hour, so I'd imagine it'd be something like 10K, the row, if I shape myself.
Okay, so right, okay.
10K in a row normally takes me about 40 minutes if I'm going at it a little bit. So I'm thinking an hour going much easier.
So an hour on a rower.
Yes.
Then you're going to cycle.
Yeah.
For 112 miles.
Yeah, Ironman bike.
And then you're going to run a marathon.
Ironman run.
And then you're going to recover.
Then I'm going to go to bed.
And then you're going to go to bed. And then you're going to do it again consecutively.
Yes, 7 o'clock each morning. So it'll be on Facebook. We're going to put we're talking about getting a webcam set up, but I can't imagine everyone to watch me pedaling for 5-6 hours at a time.
No, but I think, I generally think what you're doing and undertaking, from our perspective, you've 100% got all of our support from Summit. I mean,
yeah,
we'll have to virtually, obviously, give you recovery.
I mean, that's the biggest issue, mate, because obviously in the real world, I'll be coming to you or you be coming to me at the end of each day doing, right, let's bend you out of shape a bit and get you right. But obviously that's my biggest worry, is the fact that I've not got hands-on treatment of you guys. Can I just give me a minute? My cat's climbing the door here trying to get out of the room.
Bring your cat in.
Cheers, love. He's climbing up the door.
Well, look, I won't keep you, Joe. Honestly, I really, really appreciate your time.
No, it's a pleasure.
As much as when we post this, I'll put the link. We'll add the link below so everyone can click and we'll get this out. But just for everybody else, how do they, how can they find about yourself, about the team Limitless, and about the Dakar challenge that you're doing on the 1st of May?
Yeah, so we have a website, limitlesstriathlon.co.uk. That if you want to find out about the team and myself and what we can do for you. We've obviously got got Limitless Triathlon Facebook page and my own personal Facebook page as well. And if you friend me on Facebook or look on Facebook, you'll see the Just Giving page there. So we have it's called Joe's Indoor 10 in 10. It's called the Just Giving page. So, but it's all over Facebook. I've had so many people shared and that and stuff. Yeah. But it'd be great if people can share it, donate, do whatever, just spread the word. It'd be great because we want to try and make it. You know, I'd be upset if I did 10 Ironmans in 10 days for £1,000 for NHS. It's a tough week's work, that.
I'm sure everyone's going to get behind you on this. I mean, it's a phenomenal thing. So, you know, Joe, I really appreciate your time today. And listen, I wish you all the best with everything.
Too, buddy.
I'm sure keep in touch. All right,
you take care, my mate.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye. You all right?
Yeah, good.
Hold on.